This was a good one from Terrence, who wrote in, and he said, and I think this is going to be an interesting answer, what do you actually prefer? Is it the teaching or the mathematics?
Yeah, okay. So I want to be rude and unhelpful and say the answer to that question is yes. That's the answer I want to give, because I do feel there is something of a false dichotomy in this question that we shouldn't have to choose. I do remember once upon a time working with a teacher, and I won't name them, but it became very clear to me, and I do respect this teacher a lot. I learnt so many things from them. But it became really apparent after working with this person for several years, they loved the mathematics, and like human beings just got in the way. It's like, all I'd love to do is just arrive in the classroom, show you something brilliant and beautiful, and then you guys get it and I can just go sit down. Like that would be my ideal. And to that I would say, whilst I understand where that's coming from, and it has some advantages, the disadvantages far outweigh that. We're teachers, we're educators. We work, our primary work is with people, not points on a syllabus. And so if someone said to me, you had to choose one, right? I'd wrestle with it, but I'd choose teaching. Like if someone said to me, hey man, mathematics apparently is now illegal. Like you can still be a teacher, you have to find something else. I'd say, okay, and I'd go and teach another subject. I wouldn't go and find some other mathematical thing to do, because seeing students, like seeing the aha moment, or coming to a student who, when I first met them, perhaps at the start of the year or even years ago, and they're like, sir, no offense, this is just not my thing. I'm just here because the minimum school leaving age is 17. To have a student like that and to bring them along the sometimes months and years journey, like you don't solve that problem in a lesson. You work with that person, you show them they can be a person who understands, and then they get to something. Maybe they're never going to be, an international mathematics Olympiad, scholar, but actually their whole mindset toward mathematics has changed. They're now going to go out into the world willing to wrestle with problems that they would have just said, I can't think about that, it's impossible. That's the thing that I find deeply satisfying. And probably long term, like I have a lot of my friends who are not teachers, and they often say to me, I don't understand how you can teach the same ideas. Like, how interesting can it be the 15th time you teach Pythagoras' theorem? Like, doesn't it get boring? Like reading the same book over and over again? To which I respond, number one, people do read the same book over and over again if they truly enjoy it and can sense that it's beautiful in different ways. And Pythagoras' theorem famously can be shown in thousands of different ways, and each new one is kind of cool and interesting. But the real thing that grabbed me, and why I could teach it 100 times, is that the class is different every time. And working with those students, that just, for me, just never ever gets old. And I think there's a lesson in there for people who want to be educators or who are on the road to, learning, that if there isn't a kernel of that within you, if all you've done is come into teaching because you desperately love your discipline, your subject, I would say you better start learning to love working with students. Otherwise, you're going to hate your job. They're going to hate being taught by you. It's not fun for anyone. Every teacher is the lens through which their students experience the subject, and you're actually doing them a disservice if you hate spending time with them and helping them come to that point. So if I had to pick, it'd be the teaching. Deep down, I don't believe there can be a dichotomy between those. Like, I think you've got to hold them together. Like, my favorite metaphor for this that someone else taught me is like asking, is it the teaching or is it the mathematics? For an educator, is a bit like saying, so which wing of the plane is more important? Like, neither of them will fly. And that's actually very important to recognize in the opposite direction. If all you've got is, I just love spending time with kids, and the subject is like, it's not important. I think a great educator has to believe, there has to be a conviction that your subject matter is important. It's going to provide your students something that will be of true value to them. Because if you don't do that, then I think you'll never be genuine and authentic in conveying to your students the importance of science, history, mathematics, whatever it happens to be. So I do think you have to have both.